Okay, I think I've figured out my routing. Let me go ahead and bring this closer to the camera. So I've got a flat sensor cable here that I have folded onto itself once and used a very thin zip tie on it, and that will be perfect reach over to here. Then I'm going to solder the outgoing leads to the motor vertically and, have a little bit of slack up to the motor here. Power leads, same thing. I'll solder them vertical instead of horizontal so they can just drape right over across here. You got these little things to clip into if needed. So then I took the power and reset switch and the signal wire and bundled them up together, and my servo wire comes across here and around. So this will get two-sided taped right in there after I solder some wires first. And the receiver will go right here with these two wires plugged into it, just up and over. And then this will get two-sided taped right down here near the motor. So nice and clean. And then this will get soldered into the battery cable so it's direct connect. So when you connect the battery, the fan comes on right away and stays on. That's a nice thing. I do that on almost all of my kits because it lets you know that that you're connected, that you've got a hot battery. Otherwise, you could, set the car down, walk away from it, turn off your transmitter, and the car's just sitting there, burning battery, and you could turn the radio on and hold the throttle down without thinking about it and have the car charge off your tabletop, or bad things can happen. So it helps identify that the vehicle is in fact powered up. Now, battery connectors. I'm just fine with bullet connectors, and this battery came with a pair, but I've been using a different type because some of my packs are 4mm and some are 5, and I've got some really nice shorty packs I want to be able to have the option to use in any of my cars. So I've been buying these that have a 4mm interface followed by a 5mm. So you can plug this in to the larger hole, no problem. But you can also plug them into a 4mm pack and just have the bullet sticking out a bit, which is fine, as long as you don't have loose metal items that might cross over and connect. So I'm going to go ahead and solder this kit up with these, and I'm doing another kit at the same time. I've got my TLR 22 truck. I'm going to be doing the soldering on this as long as I've got my solder station out, which is over here, like so. So I'm going to try to do as much soldering in one sitting as I can. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my ESC and solder wires to it. Now, what wires? Well, I've got some heavy gauge wires because this is a high power draw kit. The high powered ESC, high amp, high draw motor. I'm going to be using thicker cables. This is a 10 gauge wire kit by TQ wire. Don't ask me where I got this. It's been sitting around waiting for a good cause. The last few kits were two-wheel drive 10th scale and didn't require the heavier gauge wire. So I'm going to go ahead and use them on this kit here. And I like the fact that I've got blue, red, and black. The color identification is always nice. And I'll use a couple sections of this for the battery, and the rest of it will be for the motor with the blue. And that'll do the whole kit. Now, there's also these little items. These are some things I 3D printed up a while back. I'm not sure if they're going to fit with this thicker gauge wire. And because everything is such short runs, I probably wouldn't need even more than one of them. But I drew these up in CAD and ran them off on my 3D printer, batch of them. And what it allows you to do is just group your wires. And again, I'm not sure this is gonna fit through here. It probably will. I'm gonna have to work it, but in any event, that helps keep your cables organized. Keeps them from flapping around. Now, you know, we're only going a couple inches here and then to the battery, and these clips are here. So this is something that if you have a 3D printer, you can draw up on your own and set them up. Some companies sell carbon fiber versions of these, and they're god-awful expensive for something that just keeps wires together when you could just use a zip tie if it's that important. So anyway, just showing you stuff. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and figure out what links I'm going to need and cut and tin and solder wires. I'm not going to show you the full soldering process. Hopefully you guys know how to solder. If you don't, search around for a good video on it. It's not very hard. I definitely recommend getting a solder station like the one I showed you. They can go up, you know, above 800-900 degrees. And when you're trying to deal with things like these bullets that absorb a tremendous amount of heat, you really want a hot soldering iron, because you can wait all day waiting for this thing to get hot enough to have the solder really bind to it. And then I also highly recommend getting a set of extra hands. It's a let me grab it. One of these guys. Very handy item, and especially when you're dealing with stuff like these. When you get this thing hot enough to bind and you've got liquid solder on this, it's probably running 500 or 600 degrees. You do not want to touch this. So having some clips to be able to, even just one, to be able to hold this while you hold the wires, it's a very handy item. So they're your fingertips. I've got a wire stripper, the kind that you know, it's kind of like a pliers with different gauges on it. I still find that it's better to use a very sharp blade and just score around the edge and pull, because there's a lot of, it's not a solid wire, it's a bundle of extremely thin wires. And you can do a lot of damage. You can cut a lot of them with the conventional stripper. So that sounds dirty. The conventional stripper. What about an unconventional stripper? Okay, so let's size up wires. I'm gonna want my battery wires to be able to reach across to as far as here. Well, I would just flip the battery around at that point, so about that far should do it. And then these, probably going to want those to be varying lengths. Okay, we've got A, B, and C over here, and A, B, and C over here. So this one over here is going to need to reach across. So actually I may not do them vertical, I may do them horizontal and do it like that. Okay, that's my A wire. Get these out of the way. Let's go blue for B. That's going to basically come straight across. Let's get a little bit of curve to it though. Then my C wire. Again, let's give that a little bit of a curve to it, a little less bend. Just so things aren't tight. If they're too tight and things flex and move, you're more likely to tear the wire free, you know, pull the solder up. Okay. So A, B, and C. I'm going to start by soldering these into the bullets and then solder them into the speed control. Okay, heating up the soldering iron. While I'm doing that, I'm going to put some tools away, kind of organized, so no need to show you this part. Okay, so let's power up a transmitter.
Welcome to Noble.
And let's plug in the battery. Second. Gotta set the radio to the right model. So we've got steering. Okay. We're going to need to do a reverse on that. But otherwise, everything's working.
Signal lost. Shutting down.